Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kizer Cormorant V2. I don't know the difference between the V1 and the V2 other than, visually, what I can tell is the old one had some X's on it. This one's got lines, which I think look a little bit better. Maybe there are some other changes. I'm really just going to review this for what it is today, which I'm going to start off by saying is a pretty cool knife. So this is what this was designed by Dr_EDC. Make sure and follow him on Instagram. I mistakenly thought that this was the person who, sent it to me. And I didn't realize this was the person who designed it. So I said that in the unboxing. Sorry about that. That was my fault. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. These come and go as far as I can tell. I will link this down in the description if you want to check it out, if you want additional details, pricing, stuff like that. We'll talk all about that, but there is a link right down there for you guys to utilize if you want to. Let's go ahead and, excuse me, measure this guy. Overall length of the Cormorant V2, 7¼ inches. Blade length is coming in at about 3 1/8. Cutting edge, just shy of 3 inches, 2.85, 2.9, something like that. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. Definitely closer to the size of the Rat 2, a little bit bigger. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Definitely closer to the size, almost the same size as the Para 3. Obviously just a different body shape. It's kind of almost like a retro 80s movie version of the Spyderco Para 3. That's what it makes me think of, right? Cue the heavy synth music. Let's go ahead and put this up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Whoops, might be helpful if the whole thing's on camera. And then up against the Benchmade Bug Outs. Closer to the size of the Bug Out, but the Bug Out's still a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and do carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. So this is, by the way, this is a button lock, which if you're not familiar, this is not an automatic knife. This is a manual knife, so you have a flipper, you have a front flipper, and then you have an opening oval. So you can do the reverse flick and all that stuff. You can do the Spidey drop, right? But then to disengage the lock, you push this button and it just falls back into place. You can also use the button to do, your ninja whips, right? Or whatever, right? Whatever you want to call that. But yeah, it's a very fidgety knife. I like button locks. It's actually pretty convenient to just push a button and have it fall. It ends up being a game to get it to flip, and then when you disengage it, to have it fall and then fall perfectly into the closed position, because it does have a sort of, the plunge lock works as, I guess, what you would refer to as the detent. So you can see there what happens is that button, as soon as it falls into the open position, it'll rise. Click just a little tiny bit, right? So yeah, I really like the button locks. You kind of have to time it exactly right to get it to fall back into place, so that plunge lock catches it and holds it in the closed position. But it's really cool. Anyways, let's put this up against the Para 3. So you can see here, it's roughly as thick. This secondary little strip of G10 makes it slightly. Now, it's pretty much exactly the same. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. What the heck? There it is. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter than both. And even including this rectangular area, you can see here the Spyderco Para 3 and PM2 are still going to be quite a bit taller. So you should have a pretty positive, pretty easy carry experience with this guy. Let's go ahead and get my tools out, do a hardware check as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description where I talk about my tools. Pivot is going to be a T8. And the rest of these screws, gosh, there's only one. This must just be floating. Yeah, it's going to be T6. T6 for the pocket clip. Not a big deal. Wish they were T8, but they're not. Make sure you have quality tools, place to put your loose hardware. You're going to be just fine. Let's measure blade stock thickness. we have a blade stock thickness of 116 thousandths. Okay, that's fine. About what I expected. Weight on this guy, I'm going to guess it. What am I doing? I'm going to guess that this weighs something like 3 ounces. Yeah, almost exactly 3.07 ounces, which is fine. Ratios are good. 1 ounce an inch on the blade generally is what we go by. We do have some countersunk steel liners in there, and they are milled out. And then it looks like there's little, the G10 actually creates little pegs that fill the holes. Okay, so I don't know if the milling is doing that, but it doesn't matter. It's a 3-ounce knife. It's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes here. This is a fun knife to play with. And, you know, while, before I started this video, I checked the link. You guys are seeing this weeks in the future, right? If you don't know, my content is pre-recorded. So by the time you guys see it, a lot, like the reviews especially, sometimes the unboxings are a little closer, but the reviews, they're like 3 weeks in the future from when I actually filmed it. And then they get scheduled and they get kind of, they stay in this sort of limbo on YouTube, set as unlisted or private until the date comes and then they're released on a time schedule. That's why my content is always released at exactly the same time. This allows me to keep control of the insane schedule, right? 2 uploads a day. Yeah, so when I checked it, when I checked the link, they weren't available. I would venture to guess there will be more. This seems to be a knife that people really enjoy, and I can see why. You know, people go nuts for the Malibu, the ProTech Malibu, but they're really hard to get. Every time, you know, somebody announces they're going to do a drop of the Malibu, which is also a button lock knife. It's the button lock nature that's got people interested in stuff like this. Every time somebody mentions that they're going to do a Malibu drop, they are available for maybe 3 minutes and then they're gone, right? So the Malibu is also substantially more expensive. Now, it's also made in the United States, which this is not. This is made by Kizer. It's made in China. But Kizer is one of those Chinese OEMs that does a very good job with production quality. Another thing that I really like about the aesthetic of this knife is that we have a black and white sort of theme going on. We have this small strip of black peel ply texture G10, and then it's being shadow boxed by the white G10 underneath. That looks nice to me. It looks, I mean, it's different. We don't see that all the time. Not everybody's going to enjoy that, right? People are going to be quick to point out white G10 picks up oils and fingerprints and it changes colors too easily. Yeah, I mean, you can always just clean it off, right? But yeah, that might happen. It's not really that big of a deal. I like the lines a lot better than the X's in the original. I think it looks good. This is one of those where, because like a lot of people don't like it when they make a cutout for the pocket clip so that you can, you know, mount it on the other side, or left-handed people can carry it. The nice thing about this is because that's the whole idea with this knife, is to be able to see the white underneath just showing through in a couple of places. And so that actually looks pretty good. I actually like how that looks. It's pretty cool. The blade is a sort of reverse tanto. It's got a flat that carries out about 85% the length of the blade. Satin finish blade, ho-hum. Kind of surprised Kizer did not go with a tumbled finish on this guy, but whatever. If you like satin finishes, then there you go. The edge, it actually is pretty darn thin at the final apex. So you can see there, I'm just trying to show off how it tapers. Pretty good. Yeah, it's got a relatively thin edge. This is going to tackle general EDC tasks. It's like I usually say in my reviews. Like most of these knives, well, not most, but a lot of knives are ground very, very, very similar, which is why I say the same thing so often. It's going to tackle those EDC tasks with relative ease. There's nothing going on with the blade that really bothers me. I think access to this thumb oval is pretty good. You can do your thumb flicks, right? You can do your reverse flicks. Your front flipper action is pretty darn good. Not perfect. It just, you know, it's a little, there's not a whole lot to engage with here, but you can absolutely do it. Flipper tab on the back works really well. So yeah, this is a very, very fidgety knife. Not that that's absolutely the most important thing when it comes to a knife. Obviously, it really just needs to be able to deploy conveniently, cut, and then put away, right? Which this does. You just, the other stuff here is a bonus, right? If you want to play with it, you can. That's up to you, right? If you purchase the knife, you get to do whatever you want with it. If you don't purchase the knife, then who cares, right? You don't have to be concerned with it. You don't have to let it ruin your day. What's the next thing I was saying? Oh yeah, sorry. Moving back here, we have a couple of thumb studs here. Where's the lanyard hole? Where are we going to put our lanyards that all of us use? There are so many of us that use lanyards. What will we do? Moving on, we have a pocket clip here that is, I think, designed pretty well. I don't like these where they dip and then they come straight. I like a swoop, right? Drop from back here, come down, swoop up, rounded bill, but a continuous rise. Not a flat bill, a continuous rise. Why? Because if your pocket seam is thicker than the distance between the surface of the texture G10 and the bill of the clip, then you get to use two hands to screw around with your knife to get it back in your pocket. I just want to go in and out, right? That's life, right? That's all life should ever be. It's all right. The pocket clip will carry deep enough to give you a pleasant carry experience. I don't like the bill, but I mean, that's, you know, this is another B- of a clip. It's all right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it here. Blade play. We have no left and right. We have slight up and down sometimes, and that is honestly the nature of plunge locks. I have $500 automatic knives, side opening automatic knives, that periodically have a little bit of up and down play. Up and down play is much more of a worry on a frame lock or liner lock where geometry plays a gigantic role in whether or not the lock will actually stay engaged during use. Because this is a plunge lock and it has a lot more surface contact and it connects with the tang of the blade in a totally different way, I'm not sure that up and down play really matters as much, and it's not always present. It's sometimes there and sometimes not. I'd like that it wasn't there, but I don't know that I'm really all that concerned with it, right? Like right now, the last 3 times in a row, I can't get it to do it at all. Pivot lash. It's a little teeny tiny bit, not that big of a deal. And then surprisingly, I honestly expected there to be a little bit of detent lash because of how a button lock operates, but apparently not. Centering. Yeah, that's dead on. Perfect. So, what's the blade steel on this guy, by the way? It's one of Kizer's favorite blade steels, S35VN. I have zero issue with S35VN. I love that steel. It's one of my favorite EDC steels of all time. Very stainless, good edge retention, easy to sharpen, and plenty tough. Very, very well balanced. What's the price in this guy? To my surprise, this knife comes in at $101, or at least that was the last listed price, excuse me, when it was available. Yeah, that, I am not bothered by that at all. I think $101, $100 is just fine, right? I think this is pretty cool. I think this is a good EDC profile. I think fidget factor's off the charts. People who really like fidgety knives are really going to like this. But even if fidgety knives aren't your thing, this is just a generally speaking, it's a good profile with reasonable, I mean, like the handle materials are fine. And then the blade steel S35VN, yeah, I'm not going to say no to that. Not at $101, right? That's excellent. I think the whole design is very good. I really just don't have that much negative to say. I'm a lot more picky with my reviews now as far as what actually makes it to the preferred or the recommended playlist. And yeah, this is going to go on there. The Kizer Cormorant is a very cool knife that I think will appeal to a wide range of people. Well made, and I think it'll you know, serve you well in an EDC setting. So this is definitely going to go on my recommended knives playlist. I like it a lot. Thanks again to Kizer for sending me one. Sorry to both the viewer who lent me this one and Kizer for sending me that. Sorry about the crossed information there, but this guy will go back to its original owner, and the one that Kizer sent will go to one lucky viewer. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.